My name is Elliot. With SkillCat, I lead customer success. And so, actually, if any of you guys have called into our support line, texted us, or emailed us, and you talk to somebody, that person is probably me. So, I guess if you're out there, nice to finally meet you guys. And our special guest here today is Ashley Linz from Viper, and she's going to be talking to us about HVAC chemical safety. So Ashley, if you want to take it from here, introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself, and then yeah, and then go from there.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much, first and foremost, for joining. As you said, my name is Ashley. I work directly for Viper or Refrigeration Technologies. Same company. Viper is just a lot easier to say. So we stick with that. It's a lot more memorable. I've been with them for about a year at this point, but I've been in the industry for about 6 years. So I know enough to be dangerous, but I can't fix your unit. So today we're going to talk about chemical safety. I am going to do a little PowerPoint screen share, and I'll talk a little bit about our company history, how we kind of came to be and why that's important. We'll go through some safety information, and then I'll talk to you through some of our products and kind of how to choose the right product for what you're doing to make sure that both you and your equipment are safe. And then at the end, we'll save some time for some Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, we can get those all answered. And then if you want to use, I'm always a fan, if you want to drop the chat, if you want to drop something in the chat box, you can do that too. And I can answer your questions that way if you don't feel like speaking on camera or verbally. So pick your preference. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Give me 1 second while I get this set up.
If I have to cut out before the end of the meeting, it's only because I have 19% left on my battery and I'm at a university ready to attend college at 6 p.m. So I'm sorry.
No worries. I respect the hustle.
Thank you.
All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. Okay, so as I stated, thanks so much for joining. We really appreciate it. I love being able to share a little bit of knowledge about chemicals. We're going to try and make it as fun as possible. I know chemicals are not super sexy and exciting, but we're going to do our best today. Okay, so a little bit about refrigeration technologies. We have created and supplied HVAC products since 1987. We are a family-owned company. We are still a family-owned company. Our goal basically is and has always been to provide environmentally friendly chemical solutions for the HVAC industry. Our slogan is kind of performance without hazardous ingredients. So we are really the OGs of creating safe chemicals because we've been doing it since we started as a company. So as I mentioned, we were founded in 1987 by John Pastorello. He is still involved in the company. He still owns the company. His wife works in the business. His son works in the business. So like I said, very much family owned and operated. We're located in Anaheim, California, but we do have worldwide distribution. We're actually in 29 countries. And a fun fact is that the first product that was ever developed is our Big Blue micro leak detector. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is in a couple of slides. But I want to share the story of kind of how we became a company, because I think it's really cool for technicians. So John, our owner, was actually a chemist by trade originally, and he ended up losing his job. And he had a family at the time and needed to support his family. And so while he was looking through the newspaper ads for a new job, he stumbled upon an AC technician posting, and he got that job. And he started working in the industry. And as he was working in the industry, he realized that these chemicals that he was using were super harsh. They were damaging his skin. They were damaging the equipment. And he was like, I can create a product better than this. I have the knowledge on how to do that. And so he did. So he started with the Big Blue micro leak detector. He created it, started using it in the industry. And his coworkers and friends were like, John, that's a great product. Can we use it? Can you sell it to us? And that is how our company started. So I think why that's important is that these products were made from somebody who was in the field and knows what it's like to be a technician. They know how the products are being used, the way that you're going to be using them. And that's really helpful in the creation of the product to make for sure that the product works the best it can, but also still be a safe product. Oops. So we do have 4 product lines within our company. So we've got leak detection, we've got coil cleaners, we've got sealants, and then we have welding and brazing products. Sorry, some of the images take a while to load, so it's a little bit of a lag. Okay, so safety labels. So when we're talking about safety, there's 2 types of safety. There's safety for you, the technician or the human, and then there's also safety for the equipment that you're working on. So ideally, you want to have something that's safe for both parties. So something that's really important is knowing how to read the labels that are on the back of the products. And I know this probably isn't something that a lot of people are trained on, and a lot of people don't read the back of the labels. It's kind of like, reading the instruction manual. A lot of times this kind of gets bypassed, but this is really important when you're looking at the chemicals that you're going to be using, because you want to make for sure that however it's labeled, you're handling it appropriately and making for sure that it's safe to use on the equipment that you're about to use it on. So I've got some common symbols here listed. So the first one is our skull and crossbones. I always joke around and say, no, this is not, I want to become a pirate. This means that the product is toxic. So really something that you want to avoid, not a chemical that you want to be playing around with, and hopefully not one that you're using at all. The second one, which is the kind of Spider-Man looking one, it says health hazard, cancer causing. It's a respiratory hazard. So unfortunately, this symbol is really common on a lot of aerosol products that you guys use in the industry. So what it means is that the first time you use this, when you breathe in any of those chemicals, it's going to be toxic and potentially cause cancer. So they can't say if it's, cancer tomorrow or cancer in 5 years, but this will ultimately lead to cancer. So again, not something great, not something that you ideally would want to be using. So those first 2 symbols, you're not going to find a single product in our line that has either of those symbols, because we don't think it's necessary to have those, and we don't believe in subjecting you guys or equipment to either of these things. Now, the one in the middle, corrosive, this is a super common symbol on a lot of cleaning chemicals. So basically what this says is, I eat metal. So if we think about what we're cleaning, it's all metal. So it's not going to be a great product for cleaning any unit. Now, if you think about it's going to eat metal, what's it going to do to your skin? So it's going to be very hazardous, very toxic. You're not going to want to get this on your bare skin. There are products that are so corrosive that they will literally eat your tennis shoes. So you have to be really careful when you're handling a corrosive product and make for sure that you're always using PPE or your personal protective equipment. So gloves, goggles, you want to be really cautious about how you're handling this. I will point out that out of our 40 lines of products, we only have 2 that are corrosive because we don't believe in using corrosive chemicals. And I'll explain what those 2 are later, and the very few circumstances in which we need to use those. Now at the bottom, we have, to the left, we've got our gases stored under pressure. That is going to be on any aerosol container. Not really, I mean, it's a safety issue, right? Like don't put this under flame, don't puncture it, but more of a caution. And then the next one, which is the exclamation mark, just means that there's a chemical present or it's a mild irritant. So for example, if you have a coil cleaner with this on it, don't squirt it in your eye. All right. So I'm going to hop in with the first product that our company ever created. And it's a very common product that is used in the industry. A lot of, well, pretty much if you work on either residential, commercial, service or install, you'll potentially have to use this product. So I'm going to put you in a scenario. So let's think about trying to find a leak and you're spraying down a large portion of the equipment. If this was a corrosive product, how is that going to impact the equipment, right? You're spraying a ton of surface area and then you're leaving a corrosive product on there just to basically sit. It's often not going to get rinsed off afterwards. So not a great experience for the equipment, and probably not something you want to do. So our leak detector is non-corrosive. It's totally safe to be used around food. The original Big Blue product will actually detect a micro leak down to 0.65 of an ounce per year. So we're talking about a super, super tiny pinhole leak. So it's pretty awesome. And this is safe for any type of gas system. We do also have 2 other types of Big Blue, which is going to be the small one down in front, which is our brush on. And that's just for smaller, tighter spaces. It actually has a little extending dauber, so you can kind of dab around if you can't get the squirt bottle to reach your area. And then we also have Sub-Zero, which is just for it's freeze resistant down to -30 degrees. So if you live in a cold region or if you're working on like a chiller or a freezer. Okay, so this portion is not really about safety. This is more about convenience. I just kind of wanted to show you guys what these are because they'll be in a couple of the other slides. These are our Venom packs. It's just an innovative new packaging. I kind of think of it like a Capri Sun packaging. It's like a little pouch and it's squeezy. So it's a little bit different than kind of how any coil cleaner has previously been packaged. Normally they're in gallon jugs, but these are designed to be lightweight, save space on your truck, and they're a super concentrate essentially. So it's almost like a gel formula. You're going to add a lot more water to a product like this than you would to a gallon jug of product. But really this is helpful, especially for like the smaller companies where they're trying to do everything and put as much as possible on the truck. These have a much smaller footprint, so you can get more of this product on your truck versus the gallon jug. And they are tested for heat, they're tested for durability, and they're also a lot easier to pour because they have a small pour spout. I see I have a raised hand. Joseph, did you have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
My boss's house just well, not just, but last year it caught fire and he's got smoke damage and stuff like that. And we want to clean his evaporator coil. Will this evaporator stuff, the evaporator cleaner, help with that?
It will. So I think I'm gonna pause your question until we get to the EVAC cleaner, and I'll talk about kind of how it helps with some of those stenches and smells. But yes,
Okay,
the short answer to your question, yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. The other thing I'll point out on this is that these are actually perfectly designed to go with our sprayers. So a lot of other companies and a lot of the competitors, you actually use a lot more product when you're using a foam gun or a foam sprayer. Our gun has special dilution ratios to work properly with these super concentrated packs so that you're not wasting product. So that's really helpful too if you guys ever plan on going out on your own, if you're responsible for paying for your own products, you want to make for sure that you're not overusing the product and wasting your money. Okay, so condenser cleaners. So we have 3 versions of a condenser cleaner. Now I'm going to point out that all 3 of these are actually the same formula, just delivered in different methods. So we've got an aerosol can, we've got our gallon jug, and then we've got our venom pack that we just kind of talked about. So I want to put you guys in another scenario. So if you're doing, let's say you're going to Bob Smith's house to do a maintenance on their outdoor coil. Bob has a dog. Bob has a 2-year-old toddler, and Bob is an avid gardener and has a lot of plants nearby. And you're going to service this coil and you're going to clean this coil. So if you use a lot of the competitors' products, they're going to be toxic. They're going to be corrosive. So now if I think about spraying down this coil with product, that water and that product is now all around that outdoor area. So I've potentially just killed his plants. I've potentially, if his dog is allowed in the backyard, that dog can now go lick up that product from the ground. If I have a child, they could be playing around in it. And we all know that toddlers like to put everything in their mouth. So there's 3 situations just right there where picking the product that you're using can be really important. I'll even switch that to the commercial side of things. A lot of times they have like a rubber roof or a vinyl roof, or they're held to different specifications as far as what they're allowed to use. So again, you're not going to want to use a corrosive product or a toxic product. So all of these products here are going to be safe in every situation. I'll also mention that a lot of the manufacturers that, as you guys get into the field, if you're not already in the field, you'll probably start hearing them say, we only want you to clean the coils with water. And there's a reason for that. They're aware that there are so many chemicals on the market that are corrosive. Even though they're marketed as like an eco-friendly product, that does not mean that they're not corrosive and going to damage the coil. So they don't want to be held responsible basically for someone's mistake in using the wrong coil cleaner. So all of these products here on the screen are safe. They will be fine to use in all of those situations because they are non-corrosive. They're safe for use around food. They are kosher approved, non-toxic. They don't have any funny odors. They're all going to be aluminum and microchannel safe, which is a new big thing. And then they're all also non-rinsing formulas. So with the venom pack and the gallon jug at a dilution ratio of like 20:1, they're safe to be they're fine to be non-rinsed. Anything above that, you do want to rinse just because anything soapy is going to leave a little bit of a residue and that can cause things to stick to it. So if you're outside, you obviously don't want a sticky coil. And then with the aerosol, I'll talk about it in the next slide as well, but the aerosol is an expanding foam product and it's really versatile. It can go indoor or outdoor because it is a true self-rinsing. So you spray it on, watch the fun foam expand. In about 5 to 10 minutes, it'll actually turn clear and run completely clean. And everybody loves that product. That's our #1 selling product because it is super safe and super easy to use. 1 can's good for about a 5-ton unit. So we have people who solely buy the aerosol and that's the product that they love and stick to.
No, hey, Ashley, I got a question for you. Hey, how do you feel about that? The Viper can, the one we were just talking about, the aerosol one. How do you feel about that in like fast food like chains, as far as like cleaning out the coils? Do you recommend that we wash those or rinse them out with water afterwards?
So you do not need to. And it's a great, great product. In fact, a lot of our kitchen maintenance guys love that product because it's a they're really powerful, like cleaner degreaser. So it'll really cut down on a lot of that nasty grease, especially in the fast food and kitchens.
Awesome, thanks.
You're welcome.
Also, guys,
Okay.
we'll have time at the end for questions as well. So yeah, you can hold on to your questions and we'll have a good chunk of time to answer them afterwards. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so with the evaporator cleaner, so again, we have both gallon jug, venom pack, so super concentrate, normal concentrate. So there's something really unique about this product in that it has enzymes in it. So enzymes we actually have 3 enzymes inside this product. So one goes to break down proteins, one breaks down carbs, and one breaks down fats. So those are basically the 3 things that would be within the unit that can cause buildup and smells and odors. So having the enzyme in there, this will actually work for 72 hours after you spray this on your coil. So once you're leaving, it's still going to town digesting all that crud and stink and biological material, which is kind of a unique thing for this product. It does also obviously clean, so it's going to be a cleaner and deodorizer. There's no additive smells or anything like that. Again, non-rinsing, you do want to leave this product on there just to make for sure that you do get the full 72 hours effect. And same thing, good for use around food. It's kosher safe. It's safe for plastic and rubber, non-corrosive. So with the fire question, this is actually going to go to town in kind of getting rid of all of that stinky smoke scent. It's really good for the stinky sock syndrome as well, which is very common in like your humid areas. So great product to use for that. Now, there's something else that I want to point out with the aerosol. So the aerosol, like I said, can be used for either indoor or outdoor. Now, when we were talking about the safety labels, when you're cleaning an indoor coil, you're in a very small space. So that health hazard label, like I mentioned, is on a lot of aerosol products. And a lot of aerosol products are for use in the evap. So if I'm a technician and I am cleaning an evap coil and I'm using a competitor product that has that label on it, the second I start using that, because I'm in such an enclosed space, I'm directly inhaling all of those fumes. And then on the flip side, once I'm done servicing the unit and I turn that unit back on, I am then sending all of those respiratory hazard fumes into the home or into the business. So just kind of things to be mindful of when you're picking out the products and the chemicals that you're using. You know, you don't want to endanger yourself, and you obviously don't want to endanger your customers. You need them. You don't want them to die. So yeah, just kind of being mindful of the safety labels on the back is always really helpful. And I'd also mention that there are a lot of evap cleaners that are also corrosive. So I'm going to put you back in that scenario. So with evaps, you're not rinsing those. So if you've got a corrosive product, again, you are leaving something behind that is literally eating metal, which is exactly what a coil is. So you're really just damaging and effectively removing layers of that person's coil, and the life of the coil is going to be much shorter. Okay, brighteners. So a brightener is always going to be corrosive. So I mentioned that we had 2 products in our product line that are corrosive. This is one of them. It does come in the gallon jug and also the venom pack. This is going to be a super high foaming. It's a non-acid, but it's a high alkaline cleaner. It's super concentrated in both forms. It's going to be about 3 times more powerful than the other brighteners on the market. And so here's something I want you guys to think about. Every product in our line is eco-friendly, but eco-friendly does not equate to safe. Eco-friendly does not mean that it won't harm you if you get it on your skin, and that it won't harm equipment when you put it on it. So brighteners, eco-friendly, it's fine to, like, you know, kind of get in the drains and whatnot, but you still don't want this on your skin. It will burn. So being very, very mindful, again, of kind of being aware of the labels and how it's going to hurt or help you. So for us, we rarely ever recommend using a brightener or even any type of corrosive chemical because we don't think you need it. So there's kind of a stigma around brighteners. When you use a brightener, you're going to get a really shiny coil. And that is literally because it is stripping a layer of the coil away. So to be considered clean, you do not need to remove metal. You just need to remove the crud on top. So with a non-corrosive cleaner, you're going to have more of a gray coil as opposed to a super shiny coil. But again, shiny is not necessary for it to be clean. So for us, we only recommend you use a brightener in 3 situations. 1, if you have a unit that has just been supremely neglected, it's been years since it's been maintained. 2, if you're in a really, really gross kitchen, and that is because those oils can definitely build up over time. And sometimes you do have to resort to using a bright in order to get some of that gross off. And then last but not least is if you're going to apply a coil coating. Coil coatings are usually applied in areas that are like coastal regions where there's a lot of salt content, because the salt from the air is actually really corrosive on the coil. So they try to protect it with a coating to make for sure that it lasts longer. So before you do a coil coating, because you do want an etched surface, you want a very, very clean, basically a non-touched surface, if you will, you would do a brightener before spraying on a coil coating. And that's it. Okay, so in our bracing and heat protection category, we have like 3 products. We've got a heat shield, a heat blocking gel, and then a heat blocking putty. Basically, our heat blocking putty is used for heat absorption, and then the heat shield and the heat gel are more used for heat transfer. So they're kind of the around the areas. Great products on anytime you're brazing or welding or soldering. You definitely want to be using something to protect the components around where you're doing that. There is a couple of things that I want to point out here, like with the wet rag. So if you guys aren't familiar with the heat blocking putty, you basically wrap it around whatever component you're about to braze or solder on, and this will actually absorb all of the heat. So when you're looking at a product like this, you want to be mindful, again, of the safety labels and safety, because if you're putting direct flame on a product that has carcinogens in it, you are, again, going to be inhaling those, and that's not good for you. So we're happy to say that none of our products have anything carcinogenic in it. So these are all safe products and all really great for dissipating heat, protecting against heat, and helping block any conductive heat. So you could really get away with just using a wet rag for most situations. We also have the heat shield, which is amazing. It's a really cool product. If you guys haven't seen it and you're going to be doing some brazing, soldering, and welding, you should probably check it out. It's good up to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can use it wet or dry. And all of these products are also reusable, which is nice and handy. So in our leak sealant product line, we've got nylogs. We've got 3 types of nylog. We've got red or blue, red, and white. So your blue and your red are going to be for refrigerant systems. So these are actually made from refrigerant oil. So this will go to basically lubricate an O-ring, lubricate a gasket. It will seal a flare. It will also seal a threaded connection. It basically makes like a hydraulic seal. So when you're flaring, this will actually go on the face of the flare. And the difference between the blue and the red is just the different refrigerant oils. So your red is going to be for mineral oil and kind of your older systems. And your blue actually will do everything. So if you're being smart, I would say grab your blue. And then you don't have to carry 2 products because you'll be good to go with that. All 3 of these products will never interfere with the system. It's not going to contaminate the system. They don't harden and they don't dry. So that's something that you guys should keep in mind when you're looking at sealants. There are several products out there that do actually harden once you use them, and you don't want something hardening inside the system because that can cause blockages and lead to failures. So we don't want that, obviously. And then our Nylog white is going to be for everything outside of refrigeration. So it's more of like a pipe dope. So it'll be good for anything air, gas, water, the glycol systems. And again, good for use around food. It's kosher, all of it's non-corrosive and non-toxic. Okay, so pan and drain. Again, comes in a gallon and a spray quart. I'm going to give you another situation or a scenario that you guys will probably run into. So residential service, in a lot of situations, the drain line will actually drop down into the yard. So similar to how we were kind of talking about the coil cleaning process, for pan and drain tabs, which is typically what a lot of people use in the pan to kind of help prevent any like buildup or sludge. Your pan tab is actually going to be chlorine based. So if we start talking about chlorine, chlorine is actually corrosive to metal. It's corrosive to plastic. So if it's sitting in a metal or a plastic drain pan, it will eventually eat a hole. They're not super effective because they really only kind of work in the little circle that they're placed. And then we talk about like the chlorine itself. Once it's broken down, when it gets sent out the drain line, it's going to go back into that person's yard. So again, if they have plants, if they have dogs, if they have kids, we could potentially be killing plants again. We could potentially having an animal be licking up chlorinated water, or a child putting, again, plant or anything that's around that area into their mouth. So not something we would recommend. So the pan and drain treatment is completely safe. It's non-corrosive. This is actually going to clean, deodorize, and protect. So it's kind of a cool product in that it also has enzymes. So those enzymes that I talked about for the HVAC cleaner, they're the same ones in here. So same protein, carb, and fat breakdown. And it will actually go to town digesting any existing slime or sludge that's in the drain pan. This is really, really good for those high humidity areas because that's going to build up way quicker. And what it'll do is once it's digested, all of that slime and sludge, it'll actually leave a layer of silicone down, a super, super thin layer. And that will keep anything from future growing. And this is totally safe to spray the entirety of the pan into the drain line and also the bottom 2 rows of coil. Metal safe, plastic safe, rubber safe, like I said, non-corrosive. And this is going to way outperform a pan tab, and it's really, really easy to put in place. Okay, with wipes. Okay, so you guys are probably going to want to hand wipe while you're in the field because you're not always going to have running water. And you're going to want to have something that is safe. You don't want to have something that's super harsh on your hands. Especially if you have a wife or a girlfriend, they're probably not going to want to touch your dirty, crusty, calloused hands. So these are actually a non-alcohol based wipe, but they're super powerful, and they have lanolin, aloe, and vitamin E. So it's actually going to help soothe your skin, help keep them soft for the ladies, but it's really, really powerful enough to remove grease, nylog, and mastic. We actually have a video out there on YouTube where somebody gets roof mastic on their hands, like literally dunks their hand into a tub of roof mastic, and these will clean it off. So super, super handy to have around. There's 80 tubs in here. They're actually dual-sided. So you've got a softer side and a rough side. You can do anything from your hands to your tools, to the wall, to a register, to actually wiping down the unit. They're really, really versatile. And they're just a nice thing to have on hand, and they're not going to harm you in the process of you using them. Okay, and last but not least, something that you guys should all have on your truck because you will need it at some point, an all-purpose lubricant. This is kind of like a carry-all. This is good for everything. This is safe to use around food, which is awesome because a lot of the silicone greases out there are not. But it's also a heat sink compound for those of you who aren't quite in the field yet, or if you're new to the field. A lot of the newer systems, the board is really expensive and they require a heat sink compound to be placed on the back of it, and they're not providing it to you. So if you have this in your truck, you're good to go. You just rub it on the back of the board, and then you don't have to worry about it. But multi-use product that, again, is, not corrosive. It's going to be safe. It's totally good for you to have on your truck. All right, and that is actually the end of my lovely presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then we can open up to any other questions or comments or anything like that.
Okay, so back to the fire thing.
Yes.
So we had some vent cleaners come in today, and so my boss has like 3-inch vents. It's like a commercial system, and everything goes through a fiberglass trunk line, and then comes from these little tubes that come in and drop from the ceiling, but then he has radiated heating, floor heating. So yeah, so the fire happened. It sucked that smoke up in through there. It melted some insulation around some of the tubes that go out to the condenser unit. And they showed me today, and it's the first time I've seen the evaporator coil, and it's not too dirty, but I don't want to run the system after they did that until I clean the evaporator coil. So I was just wondering about the smell, and could I possibly use that to, like, when the system's running, the blower's running, to just like spurt a little bit to kind of like cover up some of that, or mask some of that, or deodorize some of that smell,
So
if it's still bad.
yeah, I wouldn't do it while it's running. I would do it when it's off. But yes, the enzymes that are in there are going to help break down kind of like those scent molecules. Like, that's like the easiest way to say it. So it will clean it and then deodorize it.
All right, so is it safe to put on the the squirrel cage?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then it just eats a lot of that stuff, and then it'll keep it, well, just make it clean.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
I have something to say.
Sure.
I just want to commend you on displaying such a fabulous product. I mean, kosher, those were the words I don't usually hear, when advertising a product, but it just sounds fabulous all the way around. I mean, that's something you can really appreciate. I'm happy to hear about that product, actually.
Good. I'm glad that was beneficial for you.
And kosher, I mean, all the rabbis are going to be happy.
Yep. We have a rabbi come in once a year. Same thing with the Food Safe Council. There's somebody that comes in once per year to make for sure that everything is kosher. And that's how we're able to offer that on the labels. I guess there's not a lot of products that do that from a cleaning perspective.
I've never heard of one.
Yeah, we get a lot of business off of that.
Wonderful product.
Thank you. We think so too. What's up, Ronald?
Yes, ma'am, Miss Ashley. I have a question. First, we thank you again for your time in this endeavor. Like our dear Jason, we commend you for setting time aside to help us grow in this trade. My question is, on your sealant solution, it looked as if there was a Schrader valve as, I guess, the picture of a Schrader valve. So my question is, would this sealant solution be applied after recovery, right when we put the Schrader valves back in? Or could it be applicable to units that we may service that have a leaky Schrader valve? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. More when you put the Schrader back in. It is a sealant, but not, how do I say, because it's not going to harden. It's more of hydraulic sealing. So it's not going to fix like if there's a hole. Does that make sense? Like there's like a large hole in something. This is for meeting of surfaces. I'm trying to figure out the best way that I can describe
So
So it's
this.
do
not
I apply it
applicable.
on the
It's
valve?
Sorry, say that again.
Will I apply it on the Schrader valve itself?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's more for, because there's always like this misconception of like, oh, I have a hole in my refrigerant line, like this will fix it. It's not going to do that. It's not a leak sealant in that manner. It's really just going to be, I'm going to give you an example with like a flare. So with a flare, there are impurities in copper. There's impurity in any metal. So when you flare it, even if it's the perfect flare, there's going to be very small, like little crevices, right? And those can cause leaks, but it's not a hole. So it's not going to cover a
Right.
hole.
So it sounds like it's a leak sealant for a seal.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, a sealant for a seal, not a leak sealant, but yeah,
Yeah.
a sealant for a seal. Okay, thank you.
Is that also, would that be good used for like automotive air conditioning?
So we don't test it all in automotive, so I can't speak to anything in that industry. I don't know. We have a lot of people who ask about that, but we just haven't tested it for anything like that. So we don't say it's approved for that industry. So that would be on your own.
Time to get to a science point then.
I have another question. On your condenser coil cleaner, how condensed is it? How industrialized is it? I mean, how many, is it like a bottle cap or how much per gallon is it? I'm just curious.
So it depends on what you're cleaning, and it depends on, so your dilution ratio will be based off of how dirty whatever it is you're cleaning. We have a dilution ratio down to 1 ounce of product per 1 gallon of water. So that's going to be obviously very a light duty, and each bag will make about 9 gallons of product.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Love the questions. I love that everyone's engaged. It's always nice being able to have
What's
some
the pricing?
The pricing. So all of the pricing is through wholesalers. It's very on par with our competitors. It's all kind of about the same price range with regards to chemicals. But I don't talk about price because depending on where you're buying it, it's going to differ.
Okay, so how available is it? Do I have to be a wholesaler to get it? Or who do I get it from? Or where do
You
you
would
guys sell
purchase
it?
it from a wholesaler.
Okay. And this is pretty much the internet. This is my friend on that part.
Depends on where you're located. Like, are you a contractor
I
already?
Well, yeah, I work in Novi, Michigan.
Novi, Michigan. I can find the closest wholesaler for you. Offhand, I know that United and Johnstone are our 2 large national distributors. Supplyhouse.com and True Tech Tools are also those are online retailers. But I can look and see if there's something closer to you. If you want
Pretty
to
cool.
send me an email with a little bit more info, like what you're looking for specifically, you can kind of drill down a little bit more. I'm not super familiar with the Michigan area because I live on the West Coast, but I can figure it out for you.
Hopefully there's beaches and sand and warm weather all the time.
There's definitely warm weather. I'm in Arizona, so no beaches until California falls into the ocean, but it's definitely warm.
Right on. Okay, thank you.
For sure. Awesome. Anybody else with any other questions? Okay, well,
Everyone's good.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. I definitely appreciate you guys joining. I'm glad I could share my Viper love with you guys, and definitely appreciate all of the questions. My email, if you have anything that pops up later, is just ashley@refridgetech.com. I'm happy to, answer future questions and kind of get you guys some help.
Yep, and we can send some additional information afterwards. So you guys will have her info and everything.
Perfect.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a good one.